This is Shelley Kraft coming to you live on SNNLive. We're at the FireRock Conference in New York City, 2014. I have with me Itamar Shimrat, CellSource. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is CLCS. Itamar, welcome to SNNLive.
Good to see you, Shelley.
It's good to have you. Please give us an overview on CellSource.
Essentially, we're in the field of immunology and regenerative medicine. Immunotherapy for cancer is called immuno-oncology, and it's a very hot area in biotech. The company basically is involved in 3 different products or areas.
Tell me all 3. Don't stop now.
Okay, the first one is if a patient needs a bone marrow transplant or a major organ transplant, they have 2 challenges. First of all, they have to find a match donor, which is hard to do here and even harder to do in China, where they've had a one-child per family law for many years. And secondly, even if they find a match donor, their immune system still rejects the transplantation, so that has to be overcome using something called immune suppression, which is typically very high levels of radiation and chemotherapy. These 2 things mean it's very hard to find donors, and the transplant itself has often very high mortality rates. Bone marrow transplants, 40 or 50% of the people die within 2 years. And for major organ transplants, even if you successfully get a new kidney or liver, you have to take anti-rejection medication every day for the rest of your life, which is the best case scenario, and often have earlier mortality and so forth. With our proprietary cell therapy treatments, we can solve both of those problems. We can do what are called mismatched or only partially matched bone marrow transplants and organ transplants. We can reduce the immune suppression for a bone marrow transplant by 80 or 90%, which means the survival rate can go much, much higher. And we can do major organ transplants where after the transplant, the person leaves the hospital and their body will treat that kidney as if they were born with it. They don't have to take that anti-rejection every day anymore, and on average will live at least 5 years longer. That's the first of the 3 things.
Okay, let me stop you. I'm breathless because you're touching on so much that people talk about. But I don't want to stop you. Tell me the second one, and it better be regenerative medicine, because I always am interested in that.
It's a good segue, but you're 1 step ahead of me. The second one is the same cell composition, our proprietary Vito cell, for treating blood cell cancers like lymphoma and leukemia. Typically, when you talk about successfully treating cancer, you talk about 10% of the patients living another few months, or if you're really lucky, another few years, not about eliminating the disease. In preclinical studies with lymphoma and leukemia-type cancers, we've been able to completely eradicate the cancer. It's gone and it doesn't come back. Now, you have to go from animals to humans to really make it viable, but even at a preclinical level, these are definitely distinctive results.
And Itamar, what's the third one?
That's the regenerative medicine that you were eager to hear about before. So the discovery is simple to explain, but original and miraculous in its execution. You can take a single little brown apple seed and plant it in the ground and grow an entire apple tree. So in principle, you should be able to take a small amount of embryonic tissue and plant it in the patient and grow a whole organ. You take an organ precursor too early, before it's decided, so to speak, what it wants to be when it grows up, and you transplant it, it will grow wildly and you'll actually induce cancer in the patient. If you take a fully committed organ precursor that's definitely decided both what and who it wants to be when it grows up, so to speak, then you get something called acute rejection, and it's a no-starter. But in between, there's a very small window of time, and we have on this window of time and procedure granted patents for 5 or 6 different organs in the US and in Europe and elsewhere. At that moment, when you pluck it out, according to our patented procedure, it's already definitely decided what it wants to be when it grows up, but not who. And when you transplant it, it miraculously takes on the immunological identity of the recipient. So for example, we've taken a pregnant pig and extracted the fetus just at the right time, and we've taken a mouse with type 1 or diabetes, what they used to call juvenile diabetes, which affects millions of people in the US and unfortunately is growing every year. and we've transplanted that precursor into the mouse, and even though it came from a pig, it, so to speak, thinks it's a mouse, so when it grows in the mouse, quite miraculously, the blood vessels are mouse blood vessels, so you don't have that acute rejection, and it grows into a pancreas that produces insulin that can sustain a mouse, and we've actually cured mice completely of juvenile diabetes, and we've done the same thing in monkeys, and it works the same way. The new thing we're working on now is a single cell suspension taking embryonic cells with mice to repair damaged lungs. So we put the cells intravenously in the arm, they migrate by themselves in the body through a homing mechanism to the lung, and they actually repair the lung, and we're preparing to publish an important paper on this in the leading medical journal, fully repairing the lung. Whether it's cystic fibrosis, emphysema, potentially even asthma, this is a revolutionary breakthrough. And we're beginning with lung, but in principle this could be for other major organs as well. So it's very exciting.
So let me ask you, what's your background?
Okay, I personally come from the financial side of things. I have an MBA. I used to be a management consultant at Bain and McKinsey & Company. I've worked with large financial institutions around the world. And then I was a senior executive at a major Israeli bank. One of my partners, our chairman, Yoram Drucker, was one of the founders of a company called Brainstorm, where he was a COO and a CEO, was also involved with Pluristem. These are Israeli cell therapy companies that are publicly traded in the US. And Professor Reisner, who invented all of this, was the head of the immunology department at the Weizmann Institute and is a renowned expert in the field of mismatched bone marrow transplant.
Question for you. What does 2015 look like for the company?
2015 is interesting both on the research and the development side. On the development side, we plan to begin human trials with our megadose drug combinations for the veto cell treatment, to take the treatment protocol and develop it to the point that we can submit it for approval. And on the research side, to publish some results in terms of some of the things that we're doing in the organ platform, and continue moving it towards a better understanding of what the exact dosage and treatment would be for human patients.
You know, I wish you would be ready for patients next week, but it takes a while. It takes a long time. So you're on the path to which phase of clinical trials?
So normally clinical trials have three phases: phase 1 safety, phase 2 efficacy, which if it works with small numbers of people, and then phase 3 large numbers. Because we're dealing with terminal patients and we have something that has been very compelling in preclinical studies, we're doing what's called a phase 1-2 study. So you're combining phase 1 and phase 2 and going directly to sick patients. So we're going to begin with patients that already have cancer, maybe even advanced cancer, and we're able to treat them and not have to waste years treating healthy patients to show safety.
Where are they being done?
Okay, so this is, because we're a public company, I have to be concerned a bit about disclosure, but we expect that the first trials will be in Western Europe.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get a website for more information.
So it's www.cell-source or cell-source.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, Itamar Shimrat, Cell Source, publicly traded company, so you can find that information looking up the publicly traded company symbol, which is CLCS. I'm Shelley Kraft. This is SNNLive. We're at the FireRock conference in New York City, 2014. Itamar, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Shelley. Always a pleasure.
Good to have you.